All right, let's go. Let's have a look at BTC. Last week's action, well, the previous week's action has not been super exciting. And you very much has been ranging lower time frame type of action. This is the entire entire week of action. This is what you got. The weeks before, you did get a larger moves. You got larger sideways moves as well as upwards moves. Same as down, very aggressive up, and then now we're just ranging inside of this sort of zone, which is between 88 and around about 93, 94k. So it did have multiple opportunities to short at these highs. I caught this one, missed this one, but I caught we did catch the second leg down there inside of. Actually, I did catch this one as well, and we did catch the second leg down inside of the VC chat in the chat as well, from some scalp trades there. Last week's action, I'd say last week's analysis was pretty spot on for now. There are some structure shifts which have invalidated one of the cases, which is this being an ABC structure. It's not. It's going to be a more complex structure. It's going to be WXY, which is this entire structure also in a higher time frame. But the way we looked at it from a potential B flat perspective, where we are potentially going to grab the highs and then dump, which that's exactly what we did. You did get the grab of the highs, then we are getting a move down at the moment. This move down is not happening as clear as we did previously get, or as I was suspecting, of course, which would be a clear 5-way structure down. So there's nothing to that degree. Instead, what we likely have here is still that same structure. I'm gonna draw the trend line again. Just that we have it in a more complex way. So you have a move down. This could be a 3-wave, initial 3-way, or this could be your initial 3-way. Both would be valid as potential 3-waves. 3-way down, 3-wave up. Then what happens here, instead of having this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're having a lot of 3-way structures. So this, another 3-way structure down, followed up by a small 3-way structure up. And now we're just grinding here towards the downside, making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. This would still be the same structure which we were looking at previously, which was this was being a W in a complex corrective structure, this being an X wave in a complex corrective structure, and we're still anticipating another larger wave towards the upside instead of a Y wave towards the upside. So that is still the plan for me since last weekend. Even though the structure does look different, there's one interesting thing here, whether we are going to sweep up the lows back here of 87, 60, 71, because it's not entirely uncommon for a structure that does grab the highs, specifically in a complex corrective structure, to not grab the lows, but instead we make a higher low here, and then we push back up without grabbing the lows, and we come back up and grab the highs. That is not entirely uncommon, specifically through a WXY, where you have a 3-wave down in your W, and then you have a 3-wave up with your X, and then you have a 3-wave down inside of your Y wave, where you have 3-wave down here, a 3-wave up, and we are right now in the 3-wave down. So that ABC or a WXY, it doesn't really have to sweep the low, specifically because our X wave is so high. Typically, when X waves are above the 618, it increases the chance that the W is not going to be taken out, which means the Y could potentially make that higher low here, which you have the confluence of Aussies long there. We're trading into an hourly order block, right around there. We did previously week into it, but it's a very minor wick compared to current price action. We are trading inside of it. We are also still trading inside of our weekly favela gap. So this has been our previous weekly ranges, is that we have this large weekly favela gap back here, which we have now tried to break through 1, 2, 3 times, and we failed every single time and it got smashed down. The 2 previous closes we did get were above your mid-range, which is around here. At the moment, you are looking to be potentially closing your first candle below your mid-range of this weekly favela gap, which is going to be interesting. It might also start up being quite bearish. Might give us that second leg down if we do close like we are currently doing. Potentially we'll do another potential try to wake up, but then a failure and come back down again. So this is where we have been ranging for the last 4 weeks now on our movement. So that is super interesting. So I will keep keeping a close eye on that weekly close. Daily time frame, I wouldn't say we have anything too much of interest. You have that larger daily order block, which a lot of people are looking at the moment. We already did tap into it to the majority of it. So I'm just only going to mark out the bottom of it because that is the only interesting point I have here, because you already tapped on top of it, you tapped the mid-range of it, and the bottom of it would be your last sort of resort here for a potential bounce. Also, if you take your febs from the lows to your highs, now it depends on which highs you use. If you use these highs back at 94,147, or if you use the ones at 94,555, doesn't really matter. It's going to be such a minor difference. You have your golden pocket just below that previous range. Let me remove those other fibs for now. I'm going to have the 0.5 there as well, just to keep it marked out. You have the golden pocket just below that daily order block, so there is a nice confidence in regards of that 85 to 86k zone. If I do start zooming in here as well, this zone we do have some 15-minute fair value gaps and other structure. We also do have I remember this. We have a 4-hour fair value gap. A 4-hour fair value gap which has not been tapped into previously. Just at that 618. So I would have liked to see if this does not hold and we are looking at a leg down, for us to potentially come back down here and tap into this 618, this fair value gap, and see a response from that, and then see a closure above your daily order block. So let's mark this out. That's your daily right there. I'm gonna center it. Oh, it's already centered. And this is a 4-hour fair value gap. So we got that 4-hour fair value gap. You also have that inverse fair value gap. So you also have the inverse from back here just before, same price range. So you have your inverse one and you have your normal fair value gap right around there. So this is a nice zone. It's a very, very key area. I would say if you lose this zone, so that's just around 85, 86k, you lose that 85, 86k range, we are very likely going to be sweeping your lows of 80.5. But for now, we are trading back up at this hourly order block, where I am looking for some key strength before I jump into any longs. If it is the case that we have a complex corrective structure on higher time frame, so we would have this being a W. That's not correct. This starts from 0. This would be a W. This would be an X wave, and this would be a Y, which I'm looking for towards the upside here. Let me make this bigger so you can actually see it. And we'll be looking at the structure of something to this degree, where you're anticipating your Y wave to be something kind of extension of your W, quite similar in size, quite big towards the upside, which can give us the push all the way up towards these previous highs, which have not been swept, which are up at 97, 96k zone. That is what I am anticipating. I am also anticipating that at the moment, it doesn't matter if we see the bounce from here or if we see one more low, I would suspect that the bearish case for higher time frame structure on BTC is going to get disrespected. I think we are going to see a break above the 0.618 Feb, which is from this high, previous highs to previous lows. I think we are going to tap into this 618, which would invalidate your bearish case. Bearish case we talked about previously a lot. Let's see here. There we have it, higher time for bearish case, which is the multiple 1-2 setups. We have 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 3 different 1-2 setups here, where you have a 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, where we see a longer consolidation move towards the downside. I think this is going to get invalidated to the larger degree, which is good. We want to see that invalidated because we want to see this as a corrective structure. That's the best case we can see this. And then we go back to my other structure, which would be something like this, where we have, I'm going to run all this for now, just a bit, your A wave being here, this is your B wave. Your B wave could potentially be all the way down here, and then this structure down being a C wave of sorts, which would make this an A, B. This would be a complex corrective structure inside of your B, and then a C wave towards the downside. And this would all be inside of a larger A wave. And if we're looking at that as a potential larger A wave, we could suspect that this would be a larger B wave. Very common for a complex corrective structure to be in a B wave. They're very difficult to trade, first and foremost, but also difficult to predict. Because you have multiple targets on this, this can keep extending if it wants to. If it's properly a B wave, it can extend as much as it wants, even back to the highs. Of course, I'm not going to suspect that with how small our W is. You're not going to expect a extension to that degree. But what we can do is we can take a Fib extension, trend-based Fib extension from your lows. Let me just hide this real quick. That one, I'm going to remove this for now. We can take a Fib extension here, trend-based Fib extension, that second one. We take it from the lows to your previous highs, which is where I marked out W, back to the lows. So if our current lows are going to hold, a potential Fib extension here, we're looking at a potential, if you're looking at a perfect corrective structure, we're looking at this pushing to the 0.9 to the 1 extension, a 1-to-1 extension, which means this W leg is as big as your Y wave. If that is the case, then we are anticipating this pushing back up towards these levels, which is you're looking at 100k to 102k zone for that to happen. The other case is that if we do get another leg down, you would be looking at slightly lower. You would be looking at 98 to 99k. But not entirely uncommon either is that we only hit the 618 of a Fib extension. So if you add a 618 extension on here, you'll see that it aligns perfectly with your golden pocket. So this is the zone which I am going to look for rejection, where I want to at least look for short for this Y wave to potentially reject from. And we also have previous, so you have a bunch of lower highs here. So let me see, zoom in here. You see we had these lower highs here. We have already swept those up. We already taken out. We also have this liquidity batch back here. You have a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. You have a lot of liquidity built up above these highs, which is going to align with your golden pocket and your 618. So this zone is very key area at the moment. And this zone is where I would like to see a rejection happen. Even if it's bullish, this is the key zone where I would expect a rejection to happen for us to grab the lows. And this would all be in a larger structure, with the most bullish case being that all that happens after this is that we see another three-way down and then we move sideways for a longer time. This is your bullish case where you start moving, you see a large range form before we see another bigger drop towards the downside. Where this is your W, this is your X, this is your Y, where you get even larger structure. But for now, that is my key area for shorts. And for longs, we have two key areas. One, just around that 86k point. Golden pocket, daily bottom of an order block. You have a 4-hour imbalance and a inverse imbalance at that price point. So very key area for me. What I do not like is that we have to lose the trend line for that to happen. Don't like that as much. We have this hourly which we're currently sitting in, where I am looking for long, but I need to start seeing market disrespecting bearish structure. What I mean by that is I have to see we start flipping some highs here. Because at the moment, we are making these since this weekend shop. We have this lower high. Well, we have a lower high there, yeah, from initial highs back here. We have a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. This means we have a lot of liquidity built up, but it is also weakness in the charts. This is, we have just been downtrending since our weekend pretty much started, since Friday. And even before that, if we look at the structure back here, but that is the main one in focus. So we did S&P this low, so that is our first sign of strength here. We are at the mid-range of this daily order block, which we are currently respecting. So if I throw on a midline on here, we are closing above, which is good. That's strength. We also did SFP this low. We tried to break below, but we did not manage to. Now what I would like to see is for us to start disrespecting some structure, which in my case is going to be initially, we have this 15-minute order block. Let me make it so that shit doesn't extend. We have this 15-minute order block, which I would like to see us run through. I want to see market run through this. Also, even better, you run through the high. Then we get a pullback, and then I'm starting to look for continuation. Even better, if I get the pullback, I get that high, I get this structure break, and then I look for that long. That is my key, like the best moment of which I can think for a long at the moment. But overall, this zone is very key area. This is like a make it or break it level at the moment. You hold this zone, you could potentially see a run up back towards 94, 95k. Even though the larger run up would still be in the case of you see a big run up, you see a larger pullback, and then you see a large run up followed by that. So you're still expecting a large three-wave structure to form, which you have long opportunities happen also on that larger pullback. So that's going to be interesting. And I think this key area is potentially going to happen somewhere in this zone, where you have all of these imbalances previously. That would make a lot of sense for us to potentially see a bounce from. So that's what I'm watching here with lower time frames, and in pretty much every time frame, unless we're looking for the drop for 286k, which at the moment I'm not gonna expect it, but if it does come, I'm gonna play it. So that's what we got at the moment. Let's check the 5 minutes real quick, and I think we have. Okay, so we're seeing some first strength points here. Small 50-minute bearish order block. We ran through it. This was the previous one. We respected it. We got the leg down. We ran through this now. You're making higher lows on the 5 minute. You had a nice push up. You had a nice higher low here. Now you're grinding up a bit. You're seeing higher lows across the board, higher highs, very shallow so, but still higher highs. This could potentially see that breakthrough here. So that's what I'm watching for BTC, both on the higher time frame and the shorter time frame. That's where I'm looking for the short. Potentially we do get a 1-to-1 extension, but that would be up to 102k. You would expect all of these imbalances, or majority of these imbalances, to start getting filled if that was to happen. You have some imbalances back up here in this range. So that is also a key area if you were to just look at imbalances in previous range markets. So watching that as well, but not setting any limits or anything like that. Watching this as well and see if we get a reaction of it. That is all I have on BTC at the moment. But we can move on here to Solana, because Solana is actually one which I've already taken a position on. I am already in a long on Solana at the moment. As long as this low is holding, and we're currently making a higher low, this long is valid for a potential run up. And this would be playing into the same thesis as Bitcoin, where we have a three-way structure towards the upside inside of a W. Instead of having a large three-way towards the downside instead of an X, we have a complex corrective structure in a triangle, which means that in this, if we take your fibs and not fibs, your trend lines here, and we look at this, as long as this holds and we do not correct this low, this is potentially a complex corrective structure, which would be an A, B, C, D, E, where your initial three-way structure down would be an A. I'm going to need to change the color of that because you cannot see it. Make it blue. I like to make it micro. There we go. Where you have a three-way structure down here, 1, 2, 3 inside of an A. Then you have a three-way structure up, 1, 2, 3 inside of a B. Then you have a three-way structure down, 1, 2, 3 inside of a C. Three-way structure up, 1, 2, 3 inside of a D. And a three-way structure down, 1, 2, 3 inside of E. That would be it. Your invalidation is that pivot right there. That's your invalidation. If you tap into this pivot, this potential structure is very invalidated. But right now, you do have an A, B, C, D, E potentially in play. You're making higher low, and we can potentially see that run up. And this would all be inside of a higher time frame wave X. And then we're anticipating our wave Y, which would be that same larger three-wave structure as you have in your W, which comes back up, grabs the highs, and also starts filling some imbalances. Let me remove that midline. And I'm also going to jump on the daily here because I want to see what daily imbalance we do have. So you got one slightly higher, but I'm going to just mark out the lower one at the moment. And there you have your daily fair value gap, which has been filled partially, but not fully. So it's watching that potential key pivot moment. And if we take some fib extensions here as well, take from the lows of your starting structure to your W, to your potential X wave, your 618 is slightly below. So there's a potential key pivot for us to potentially watch for a breakdown. And then you have your 09 and your 1-to-1 extension around 152, 156. I do believe if I do zoom out here, we do have a, okay, so the daily, we do have a daily order block, but it's slightly higher. Daily order block slightly higher, and then we do have some partial 12-hour order blocks. Actually, that's a very nice one. Just around there. And that is a 12-hour order block. Right around there. So you have all of these smaller ones. But that aligns very nicely with your 1-to-1 extension. So that is the area of which I am going to watch for short. But at the moment, I am in the long with a very tight stop loss. And I've only taken small risk of this, 0.25%, because of how tight of a stop loss we do have. Extremely tight stop loss, but also a wider target. I'm targeting all the way back up to your highs at 147. So that's the 1 to 12 risk to reward. Of course, depends slightly on entry. I think mine is more closer to 1 to 10. But that is the long position which I am currently in. That's my only long position I'm currently in. And that's for Solana. And this structure looks better than something like BTC, because BTC did take out your lows. So now we got on Solana. That's where I'm looking to shift things short again. Right now I'm long. If we do start breaking down, I suspect we might come back down and sweep all of the lows. We have just your normal three-way structure here. Potentially we do from flat structure, which would give us that breakdown. We get the lows, grab the lows, we get a structure up. We do not grab the highs. You make a lower high and then see another leg down. I think that's possible for Solana. If this doesn't, if the current price, very key pivot point, does not hold. It's gonna be interesting. Next week we do have some news. We have, let me open up that. I forgot to open it up. Nothing on Monday. We have Tuesday with our average hourly earnings, core retail sales, non-farm employment change, retail sales, and unemployment rate, as well as PMI. Then Thursday, which is going to be the most interesting day, we have CPI and unemployment claims. So that's going to be the most interesting for the weekend, which is going to be Thursday. We're still expecting some type of volatility to happen at least next week, as we do have a lot of liquidity built up, which means we have liquidity here. You have liquidity built up here. Now, which liquidity is going to be taken out is the question. And I'm suspecting next week is going to show us. And that's all I've got for Solana at the moment. If you guys have any questions or you would like me to look at your altcoins, please post them in chat and I will have a look at those. Just gonna make sure here I did start the recording as well, just so I don't forget about that again. I've already done it once before. Ethereum. Ethereum moved differently from most pairs. You could potentially still consider this a B-flat structure. Previously, we did expect another leg down after our previous lower high, which we did get. Expected one more leg down before we saw the rise towards the upside, but we never ended up getting that. Instead, what we got, it was just that shallow pullback and then another push towards the upside. So you have a three-way structure towards the upside. You have a shallow three-way structure towards the upside, and now we have a larger three-way structure towards the upside. This could also be counted as five-way structures, but it would not count as good as a five-way, because you have initial three-way, and then you have three-way. From a W, X, Y corrective structure. Now the question would be is if this is a W here and this is an X, is this your Y wave, or are we going to do something like this? Where this is just your initial structure. This is a pullback, which you make a higher low from your previous lows, and we see another leg up inside of your Y wave. I'd say at the moment that is very possible with the current structure we have, with your one-to-one extension being just above that, the previous pivot, which we did look at. You do also have your previous liquidity built up around all of these lower highs. As we did already sweep all of this, lower highs, you have large amounts of imbalances, and then you have your next liquidity points at back at around 3.5, 3.6k. So I'd watch that. If we zoom out to a daily, do we have any fair value gaps? We do not. Nothing on the daily. 4 hour. We do have some larger 4 hour ones. I'm also gonna check. Set 12 hour real quick. So you do have a 12-hour order block, which I believe we tapped into. Yeah, so we did tap into that, but only partially. I'm gonna mark that as a, then mark that gray. So I think this area is very interesting for shorts, but that will be playing that this structure is still not done yet, and we're making higher low, and we're suspecting one more higher low here to be made in the coming days. For us to see another structure up, which would be a potentially in a C wave, could be an A, B, C, and we're seeing here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers upside, or it's just going to be the simple case that we are getting just a 3 up, 3 down, and now we're from another 3 wave up. Possible as well. Both structures would still give us the same type of action, and we'll still anticipate that we are still looking for a rejection around this zone for a potential pullback. Would leave some room for your stop loss if that was the case. Maybe even look for that entry slightly higher. Leave some room because this is potential liquidity grab target. I'm just gonna mark out your first pivot here as a key area. I typically do mark out higher one as well, but I'm just gonna mark it out like a straight line. We do this instead. There we go. Levels for downside for Ethereum. I personally did not have too much on Ethereum because most levels have been pretty clearly mitigated. Like we have already tapped into a lot of the levels for Ethereum. You got a small, extremely small 12-hour order block in here at 30.40. 6 hour, let's see here. Exactly, already wicked into that massively. So you do have this, which we're currently trading inside of a 6 hour order block. You tapped into it previously, but for right now we're ranging inside of it. So keep an eye on that. You got that small one as well, but that's also previously wicked into. Let's see if we can find any other confluences here. So you do have this imbalance, which we did already run through, I believe. We did, yeah. The 30-minute one, which already been tapped into. So you do have some imbalances, larger imbalances back down here. Looking at down at this 2.9, just around 3k zone. If the current price point does not hold, I think we're still looking for the higher low, but let's see, where is this low on this? High to low. But we are probably looking down at 786, 886 point as your bounce zone. That being you have some imbalances back down here. That's the higher low where we're looking for if we do get still another leg down. If we do start breaking up here, I'd say there is a higher chance that we are just going to get that continued move towards the upside. I am in some shorts on Ethereum since back is high, but I've secured a lot of the profits. And if we do get another leg down, I will secure some more profits, just around 3k, with your key pivot points being below the previous lows, 2.9k and 2.7. But at the moment, we suspect for the higher low to grab all of our weekend liquidity. We have all of these lower highs. If we do start seeing some structure breaks here at this price point. Oh, I'm just gonna have a drink real quick. And that's all I've got for Ethereum. I don't have too much in cases again on Ethereum because the structure does look quite different from most other pairs. So it's a tricky one. I haven't been trading it too much myself. I took one short, that's it. And I'm favoring, I'm liking the longs more on BTC and Solana that I do for Ethereum. Coin market cap, fear and greed index is, that's the wrong one. Fear and greed index is trading at fear still, but it's bouncing up. We did like 2 weeks ago, we hit the extreme fear, which was around 10, and now we're back to 27. So we're entering the mid stages of your fear here, potentially almost coming back to the natural, but still a bit away, as we have just been moving sideways. Where if we look at your typical like Bart Simpson patterns, we come back up, we make, and again I need to find a clean short, but we come back up, we just consolidate, go back up, consolidate very, very tightly so, and then we get that leg down. Very key area. And one thing I wanted to add on BTC is this a potential trend line? Did I even have it from further back? I don't know if I did. I think it looked slightly different depending on which exchange you're on. Actually, I'm just using a different pivot I remember there. Yeah, I mean, it looks different depending on which exchange you use here, but there's a pivot which I'm potentially looking at. If we can see a reclaim of this, I think we are more intrigued for that long as well, to potentially grab some of these highs. At the moment, too early for me still, even though we are sitting at a key area. Okay, just gonna have a look at your USDT dominance real quick. We are seeing a bounce. Structurally, this looks extremely three-way towards the downside initially. Then we did get another relief and another three-way structure down, which did grab the lows, which we're suspecting this is going to be your flat structure. So this low you're expecting to hold. But you're expecting this high to be swept up. If we're looking at your simple flat structure, that would be an A, B, C, but your C, of course, this is not a C, this is WXY. Same thing as Bitcoin. It's not entirely unknown for this to start dumping from here without grabbing the highs. But just there are most common structures we do sweep the highs. So we're looking at that highs potentially swept. W, X, Y, you sweep the highs, then you get the rejection. Higher low, higher low, higher low. That's we are third higher, lower high. I mean, before we see another push towards the downside, which would be to grab all of this liquidity, which I built up below around 5.5% to 5.6%. And that's where we then look for that larger, we have a large three-way, yeah, actually not that. You have a large three-way, you have a large three-way up, and we have a large three-way down. That's what we're looking for. Same as BTC, you're looking for that low to be made before you're expecting these highs to be swept up. My quick take on USDT dominance. And this is playing exactly the same into the same thing as we do have on BTC. Okay, let's look at the altcoins here. Grass, Aster, let's have a look at those two. Grass, USDT. Let's start off by zooming out a bit. So daily order block rejection around that point. Nothing of too much interest here, but I think I need to start zooming in on this. But a liquidation wick hasn't been mitigated yet, which means we could potentially still be a target for that. I'm gonna check if we have any higher time frame trend lines here, which are, yeah, I mean, you could potentially have that. You have 1, 2, 3. Well, only 2 taps of that, but let's see here. Drop on a 4 hour. Yeah, because this structure up took out the lows. That's a 3-way on the up grind. You have a small correction. Took out the highs. You are, like, just simply look at this structure. You are anticipating this low being swept up, even if the most bullish case happens, which is that this structure is one structure, and here we have a second structure, make a higher low, you see another leg up. You would still suspect that the structure down that comes is going to grab this low. That is a low which I have to see mitigated before I look for any higher time frame longs on this, or any spot buys on grass. You are right now just accumulating inside of this zone. You do have some liquidity targets here, both towards the upside and the downside. There is that one, of course, possibility, which is going to be we get that potential leg up first, then we get the leg down, and then we will reverse. That is your most bullish case. But then I would have to see this happen first, where you do get this structure break. So we get that break of structure there, BOS. Then I look for the pullback, and then I look for the long, which I would then be targeting these previous highs. So that's what I'm waiting for here. Even though higher time frame this low is the most interesting to me. Where we could potentially consider this entire range, where we do get that liquidity grab, and then we see another leg towards the upside. So that's as far as I would go on Aster. Not Aster, grass. So I would have a few key areas here. One which would be the breakout and a proper pullback, as well as a volume kicking in here. I would need to see, we have this declining volume. I would need to see a volume spike on something like this. Misclick. Let's see. Next. Aster was it? Aster. I believe I talked about this last week as well. We have a three-way structure up. My most bullish case here was this being another three-way down. And then we're anticipating this to be like a 1, 2. And then we're shopping around here. We make a higher low. We get another push here. 3, 4, 5. That was my most bullish case. Looking at one more leg towards the upside being sustained here before. This would all be corrective. This would be an A. That would be a B. That would be a C wave. This and before anticipating this coming back to the low towards the lows again. Potentially even these back at 0.5. But that would be the higher time frame structure of which I would like to play. I'd say the same thing applies here as it does in grass. That if we start seeing structure breaks, which means we start breaking above these highs, which we are locally forming. If we start seeing structure breaks above these, and we see some volume kicking in, I think this is good for that run up. At the moment, this is not of too much interest for me. This is very potentially too early. I would mark out the lows here just to see what happens if we do sweep that at 91.1. If we do potentially like get that leg down and then we SFP it, and we do not grab this low, that would be interesting. For still potentially getting that leg towards the upside. But at the moment, it's too early for me. I'd rather wait for the breakout first, or wait for the breakdown first. And we don't have any sort of specific level towards the downside here. So it's looking at that pivot, but overall, higher time frame, all corrective. Shorts are favored on higher time frame, even though potentially on the lower time frames, we could be looking for that potential leg up. But in my opinion, the safest positions are going to be taken after we get that leg up. So that's what I've got on Aster. Any other altcoin requests? I can go through the ones we typically go through. Hype. This is from last week's analysis. Yeah, we got that breakdown. I think that was established before our VC. It was. So we already have a structure break. We got that moved down. You did already swept the lows. We did get a leg up. We did tap this 12-hour order block, which we also had marked out as our short zone, which absolutely perfect. This is all playing into this higher time frame. That is a three-way structure towards the upside. We are expecting these lows to be swapped up, and all of these pumps, we are looking for corrective structures towards the upside, corrective structures, three-way structures up. We're looking for the structure break, we look for the retest, and we look for the shorts until this low is swept. The longs, of course, lower time frame, valid, but on any higher time frames, for me, it's purely shorts for hype. I am expecting these highs to be held, and I'm anticipating this seeing another leg down before that larger leg to the upside. So we're playing into the same thing here again. We'll see this hourly real quick. Gonna remove some of these drawings I just did. That's a decent bounce, to be honest. Decent structure to the upside. You did get that one wake down though, so potentially could be still be a three wave. It does look like it's a three wave towards the downside. So this high locally is interesting and potentially getting swept up before any rejection at least. You have a small order block back here in the hourly at around 30.7, 30.68. Let's remove that for now as well. But at the moment, I mean, key areas you're probably looking at higher levels, where you do have this could be a larger three wave towards the downside. Could be a WXY, where we do see another leg towards the upside, make a lower high and then break down. But as we previously talked about, our most common structures are going to be the ABC flats, where this structure would be a B here. In this case, this is your A. And we're anticipating this seeing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of a C. And we're trading back into this previous range before we look for that short on the higher time frame. And that would potentially looking for longs even around current price. We did break above these previous highs, even though we already waked above it. You did make a higher low, so there are signs there which are showing strength. You also do have these 3 points here, potential accumulation essentially at the lows. 1, 2, 3, got the pounds, got the higher low. So this is a potential long, I would say, around current price to see another leg towards the upside, trade it back towards these previous highs. But of course, take profits on the way. So that is a potential play around there. And you would be playing with this pretty tight stop loss around your previous lows, which you did form those higher lows there. I'm gonna move back to Solana real quick. Not Solana, BTC. See if anything's happening here. Nope. Tapped into it, rejected so far. So there's no valid strength for me here yet. You're still trying to make a higher low here. Higher low, higher low, higher low. Small higher high, but again, there's no proper standard deviation. There's no breakthrough. You guys have any other altcoins you would like me to have a look at? If not, I think we got through most of the pairs of which I was interested in today. Specifically BTC mostly, because this is a ranging market, and if we're entering a bear market, we are primarily going to try to focus specifically on perps for BTC. On BTC. So this is I'm watching 2 key areas. These are the 2 longs I am interested in. But any level below this or above this, I'm just going to be waiting. This is a potential SFP level. We do have it marked out around the 0.5 fib. 87.5. So you could see, like, I suspect you get a reaction of it, even though potentially you do still fall over after that reaction was to happen. That's just around 87,300. With key areas being at 86, I'd say 86 flat, around 86, 86.5, and then you have your 88.5 to 88k, so what you want to see hold. But at the moment, I'm waiting for strength on the lower time frames before I look to enter on any higher time frame swings. if there are no other requests, I think I'm done there, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. That's a Sunday. And I will see you guys on the New York market opens tomorrow. Feel free to join that as well. I'm gonna be back trading New York's structure again and see how the market does develop over the week. Have a good one. Bye bye.